On Monday, we celebrated the feast of St. Matthew the Evangelist. Since this is year A of the A, B, and C cycle, we are in year A. So since it is in year A, Matthew is the primary gospel that we are walking through. Matthew was Jewish, but he was also a tax collector. And tax collectors in the Jewish system in that era were not known to be loved by the people. They were collecting taxes for the occupying government, Rome, and giving that money to Rome. But at the same time, many of the tax collectors had a tendency to collect more than was actually required by Rome so that they could keep the difference. So they're sort of skimming off the top on top of working for the enemy. In general, that sort of gave them a bad reputation. So when Jesus comes up to Matthew and says, "Follow me," Matthew drops everything and comes along with Jesus. And I'm not convinced that it was because Jesus had some super magical, mystical eyeball that he used and the charisma just drew Matthew to him, although Jesus probably was pretty charismatic. But nonetheless, I suspect also that Matthew had heard about this Jesus long before he actually showed up in town. So when the opportunity arose to be able to be a follower of this Jesus, this itinerant rabbi, it really appealed to him. This was possibly his way to get out of a situation that was less than desirable as far as how well he was or was not liked. In fact, in the gospel that's used for the feast of St. Matthew is the gospel from the section from chapter 9 of Matthew's gospel, where he tells about how he himself was called by Jesus. And Jesus comes and says, "Follow me." And then at dinner time, there's tax collectors and sinners sitting with Matthew and Jesus and the disciples. And when the Pharisees saw this, they said, "Why does your master eat with tax collectors and sinners?" And of course, Jesus' response was, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick." And then he says, "Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have come to call the righteous, not the righteous, but sinners." I've come to call not the righteous, but sinners. Which sounds very strange. Why would Jesus say he's come to call sinners and he's not interested in the righteous folks? But I think in that particular era, those who were considered to be righteous were those who were strict followers of the law. And by followers of the law, that's what made them righteous. It didn't have anything to do with generosity, with love, with care. Instead, it had all to do with following the rules and doing what was supposed to be done in the order that was supposed to be done. And as a result, now I am a righteous person. You recall the scene that one of the evangelists describes where the tax collector is kneeling at the prayer, and there's a rabbi next to him or a Pharisee next to him. And the Pharisee is saying, "I give thanks that I do all the things that I do, and also that I'm not like this man over here." So the result is Jesus is trying to get across the idea that when he calls Matthew, he's not just calling Matthew. He's calling all of us who struggle, all of us who sin, all of us who don't necessarily follow all the rules, with the intent that he's offering us an opportunity for mercy, not sacrifice. And he's being merciful in that he brings us in, and even while we were still sinners, Christ loved us and gave himself up for us. And the invitation of that is for us to be willing to give of ourselves day after day, week after week. And we give of ourselves by loving the other. You seek and serve Christ in all persons, loving your neighbor as yourself, it says in our baptismal covenant. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the hardest one of the batch. seeking and serving Christ in all persons is easy with some people that we know, and with other folks that we know, seeking and serving Christ in them is very difficult, because it feels like I don't know where Jesus is there. But the call for us is to continue to love, love, love. Listen, listen, love, love. And if we will do those things, we will be righteous, because we offer mercy and grace as Jesus offered us mercy and grace. So we give thanks for the life of Matthew, for his example for each of us that we can follow, knowing that when Jesus calls us, we too can drop everything and come along, because we know who this Jesus is, and we know that when he calls us, that call is going to be to something good and holy. May you be blessed this week. I give thanks for every one of you. I give thanks for the beginning of indoor services, and even though we can't sing, it is still a wonderful thing to see your masked faces. So please continue to follow the guidelines so we can continue to do those services, and I will see some of you on Sunday, and the rest of you I'll hopefully have you watching, or you will see us on Facebook Live. Blessings to all.